Welcome to the Veterans Growing America podcast. I am Coach R.L. Simmons. I'm here with my illustrious co-host, Donnell Johns, and we have a special guest today, Mr. David Piatek.
What's
He
up,
is the
guys?
he is the
What's up? What's up,
founder
David? What's
of
up?
VA Housing Education. What's going on, my man? How's it going?
Good. Just kind of trying to go from dreams to bigger things.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
I like that. I just found out that your last name means Friday. So, it's always Friday around you.
This household every day.
That's what I'm talking about. So, David, I know you, but my audience is here to get to know you. So, tell us a little bit about you and your military background and experience.
So I have been still serving currently in the National Guard for the last 15 years. I joined a little bit later in life. A decision that, it took a lot, right? Because that was probably 2009 when I officially went in, joined in like 2008, kind of like the big turmoil was going on in the markets. And I had the bright idea of going infantry because what couldn't go wrong if I decided to do that. So I did that for a couple of years in a traditional unit. And then I also my Polish speaker, right? So then I mentioned my last name. Piatek actually in Polish means Friday. So pretty much everyone loves a Friday. So I was discovered. There's a couple of Polish guys at our unit. We all transferred to do intel stuff when we were in Illinois. And then a couple years later after that, I switched over to special operations where I'm currently at and serving. So it's been, 15 years. I got 4.5 years left before retirement. Cannot wait.
Yeah.
As much
Yeah.
as I love it, it's being a business owner. It's kind of a balancing act, but I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, absolutely. And David, what's crazy is I came in around the same time, so I'm lockstep with you. 15 years of service. So tell me a little bit about those 15 years and how that 15 years of experience helped you in your entrepreneurial world.
So the interesting part is in my business, I help military members understand using the VA home loan, right? And how to use it across the country. That's my primary business, right? So I've been doing this for probably about 20 years or so. And about 8 years ago, it kind of dawned on me that I had so many people asking me questions from military units around how do I use this benefit, to then really diving in and focusing in on helping the very people that I like working with, right? It's definitely I think everyone's journey is a little bit different, right? Mine was self-discovery, going through that process myself. I went back to school after I joined the Guard, got my degree, got back into the finance field. And then at that same time, while I was drilling, going through that, meeting people, trying to figure out like really the people that I like hanging out with the most also need the most help within this housing piece, and also not being they're being taken advantage of, and still that happens today, right? So leveraging the context that I have, the business I was already in, and then just merging that together over the course of, like I said, about 8 years or so now.
Nice, nice. So, what inspired you to start, though? I mean, it's business is one of those things that um, it's kind of scary, right?
It
People get out
is.
there and be like, "Yeah, I want to start a business, but I don't know where to start." And most people just get paralyzed. So, tell us, what inspired you to start?
Oh, well, I was in the business in 2001, took a break when markets shifted in 2008, and then I had to get back into it after college. And I'll tell you, my primary motivation to do it, which was horrible. Okay, it was a horrible process to get back into what I was doing, right? Because it took years to rebuild it. And as you guys know, it's a lot of failure that you go through, either relearning or you're doing new things that you haven't done before. I think the military really as they say, came clutch because, you know, there's challenges all the time that we face as business owners, from looking at a new issue where you're like, I don't even know how to even begin to approach this, right? Like you're just frustrated, but the answers are out there. Either you pay for answers or you get mentors to help you, right, through that process. But I would say, because the military and all the pain that you got to go through, all the new things that you have to be forced to, you're forced to do things you do not absolutely in any shape, way, or form want to do. Guess what? You're doing that. And that helps with business, because if you have a coach and you pay them money and they tell you to do something, you don't do it, you just wasted your time and your money doing something, right? So it's getting uncomfortable. I mean, the military definitely helps you with that, to get into that.
So tell me a little bit about your unique proposition. What is it that you do for customers?
Right. So from my end, I have the VA housing education as a founder. And with that, I'm also the director of government lending at Waterman Bank. So what we do for the veteran community is to have not a, hey, we're going to spend millions of dollars on marketing and then charge you crazy fees to get VA home loans, right? Our proposal or value is that we do a lot of education to empower military members to make the decisions on their own and really figure out what is good for them or their families moving forward. Because I think a lot of times, too often, people are being marketed to, and like with Amazon, you think it's somehow magic cloud out there knows, it makes it in the suggestion as soon as you're thinking about it. Like it's crazy, right? You're talking about it and your phone is picking it up. But I feel like that's what happens with a lot of veterans in the community. There's a lot of these quote unquote what seem to be trusted people in the space. And I feel, and I know because I look at these like loan estimates and what they charge veterans, it's just kind of ridiculous. But yeah, our key is to empower veterans. Do what you want with the information. If you feel that there's value, come back and work with us, because that's what the same experience you're going to get, right? Knowledge and information, and the most important part, which is problem solving.
That's
Got
good.
it. So
That's good.
you said that you're in the National Guard and you're doing your business at the same time. How do you balance? I mean, how do you balance both service and business at the same time?
You cry a little. I mean, I think it's a challenge because, you know, you have a lot of entrepreneurs out there that are currently serving and they want to do stuff part-time, right? I'm in that opposite boat. I have a full-time job, but I have a part-time job with the military that sometimes feels like it's a full-time, right? So a couple of years ago, when I transitioned units, I went in for a year and a half of schools, 8 schools, almost back to back, ran right into a deployment, right? For 6 months. And in my business, that is absolutely devastating. But the beauty of it was, during that time, I was like in the top 2 salespeople at my company out of over 1,000. Top 2, right? Helped over 200 families a year. So during that entire time, there'd be times I had to be on the clock for 12 hours a day. So the way, to be honest with you, especially if you work for yourself and you're in a guard situation, is you just have to work more. So I remember when I was deployed, I would literally go to wake up when you went to sleep at 10. I would then come back home off my shift from the military, and it would, as soon as I left the base, I was already on phone calls back home and working until about 4 p.m. local time. And it was like midnight where I was, and I went to sleep and then just rinse and repeat. So I think that's another piece with, you know, being in the military is, or especially if you don't have a government job where you can just stop working, right? There's definitely some challenges, even from doing drill weekends to AT. Like we have a 3-week one coming up. That's a lot of time. So I'll just be working in my car when I can and answering phone calls. That's the beauty of technology these days. There's no excuse not to work unless you don't have reception, which you should then do some recon and figure out what service provider is available there. Like we had that done by our team.
Nice.
Oh, see,
So
that's amazing. And that's a good segue into my next question. What are some of the best or key lessons or advice that you would give to an entrepreneur that is either transitioning out or currently serving and have a business as well?
that's a good question. I feel like that should be like a 3-hour conversation because
We
there's
got
so, you
time.
know, a lot of times, you know, when I'll look at things and I'm like, oh man, like this seems like a pretty easy concept, but it is hard to execute, right? And I think if you're on active duty right now, depending on what you do in the military, a lot of times, you know, either you're told what to do, you're not really thinking too much outside the box, right? And even if you're trying to think outside the box on things, you know how it goes. People will shut you down like, oh, it's the government, it's how it works. So advice would be grow your network.
Mm.
Be around people other than what you, that's the one thing, you know, when I work with a lot of service transitioning service members and they'll be like, well, I don't know anyone else. You know, it's awkward to go out networking. Well, guess what? Go out and network with other organizations like that are in the military, like VGA, like, and then you're going to meet people that are similar to you, but they're at different stages of life, right? When you're still in, I think the mindset's definitely different, right? You are not very you're not a much of a risk taker. Business is about taking risk, right? And there's going to be parts where you're going to be uncomfortable. And depending on when you're getting out, your financial family position might be different, which also is a piece for business, right? Because you have to be realistic. If you're starting a business and let's say, you know, you're in your 40s and you just have a newborn and, you know, do you want to start a new business? But plenty of people do, and plenty of people are successful if they plan for it ahead and they grow their network ahead of time. I think you guys could both agree, like waking up with a business idea and saying, hey, today I'm going to execute this. I'm going to spend $2,000 on LLCs, get the website up and running. But if there's no plan behind it, it's going to go nowhere. Right. So I would say think out your plan, grow your network because, you know, you're not going to your superiors to ask them for business advice. They're like, what are you talking about? That's just, and if they do, it might be really bad advice because I've heard some bad advice from people. So say you want to talk to people that have gone through it themselves, right? Someone that has the real life experience, knows the pain that you're going to go through that you don't realize yet, that you are going to ignore, and then you're going to feel that pain. Right? Right. Sometimes, as many times as you tell people something, they'll still want to do it. I am one of those people, right? But I've learned it more my lesson now. I'm like, okay, you know what? I got to take advice from some other people that have more experience with it. And you know, you want to think through the problems, not too much where you're never going to start a product. I think that's another downside. Sometimes people are like, I need to make this so perfect before I launch it. And then you launch it and you're like, oh, I have to change this whole thing around because it's not what my clients wanted. They wanted half of the stuff. So if you at least start it, implement it, that it's usable, whatever you're trying to do, then clients are going to tell you what you're doing wrong. And then what you're going to do to adjust it to make it right. And then you're going to go from there. So,
Man, I love that.
That's
That's
really good.
that's some amazing advice. Since we have you on the line and we have a audience that wants to know about VA housing education, what is one tip that you can tell people about their VA home loan that could make a huge difference for
one thing, not 40,
them?
not 40. Never deny yourself. That's the one thing I'll tell you, because I've met too many times where veterans, you know, home ownership is an American dream, right? You own land. In a lot of other countries, you can't do that. In fact, other countries come here and buy land because land is protected, right? Your home your land. And it's also a way to build generational wealth, right? But too many times people put themselves in these positions that they self-sabotage themselves. Okay. Don't deny yourself using the VA loan. Don't deny yourself if you don't know what your financial picture looks like. Know what it is, budget, look at credit. And that's why, like on my YouTube channel on VA housing education on YouTube, we talk about a lot of these things that veterans should know no matter what stage in life they're at. Because if you're just getting out and you may not be looking at it, well, guess what? If it's in 2 or 3 years, you do have to get ready for that process. So that was
So as
still
far
one
as
thing.
as far as clients, what's your best success story?
Oh man. Uh we got a lot of those. Mm, it's one success story from helping the client
He's
out,
like, I don't
huh?
like these limits.
Well, that's not the limit. It's kind of, I want to just figure out, like, I think a lot of times it's with, you know, how do I even, we have success stories all the time because of how we do our social media stuff with YouTube, right? We have people that call in all the time that get denied for using their VA home loan. It's a common thing. Okay. And it's because they work with some like the bigger veteran banks. Actually, I got a good one. Yeah, this because this just happened 2 months ago. A veteran was denied by 4 lenders. Okay, 100% disabled veteran. He had a fiduciary, and then he had a part-time job, working at a company. And credit was okay, right? But they 4 times denied. Finally, they reached out to me and said, David, can you help us go through this process because we've been denied? And client had also PTSD. So this was probably the easiest client we've ever had, ever, like hands down, right? Able to close. I think it was like a week and a half. Everything like, and he couldn't get an approval. Okay, and it was something technical on the back end that the lender didn't know how to do, or access to different systems. We were able to do it and turn around and do that. And so, and yeah, so that was probably one. That was a recent one that we just did. That was pretty cool. And then I recently met somebody that was homeless, but is able to buy a house. Actually, there's a lot of people like that. I'm kind of blown away by it because it's basically like, the VA has like their homeless program, right? But what they've done, and I didn't realize, is they'll help veterans get their disabilities. So I recently met a guy, and he was awarded 100% permanent total, had no real debt, had good credit, still homeless. And he's like, wait, I can use my VA disability alone to buy a house, and you don't have to pay property taxes in the area he was looking at. I'm like, that's crazy. And it's been a while since I've helped. I mean, it's crazy to think that a homeless person could buy a house.
I think that's what we need to call this segment.
No, I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, it's like, but that's the power of, what I mentioned earlier is like, never deny yourself. It's just like business with your financial picture. You can't get into business. Oh, people get into business all the time for whatever reasons, right? But when they don't have a plan, your failure rate goes high, right? If you plan, you budget, you have money set aside, you know how much money you have to make. That's budgeting and credit. Like, that sets you up for success, no matter if it's your personal life, your relationship, your business. It's all intertwined together.
So tell me a little bit about VGA and why you're a part of VGA, why you're a member of our organization.
Well, we met a couple years ago at the Burbits.
Burbits.
Yeah, Burbits down at the MGM. So that was pretty cool. So, and then I learned you're also in the National Guard, and you guys had a storefront. And so we got to know each other. And I was like, you know what? This is a pretty powerful organization that brings military communities together, right? No matter where you are, both, I know there's a couple things that you guys do. You have the shop. I know you guys opened up another shop. So congratulations on that. But then also you guys do the networking and the community piece, which I think is very critical, right? I think sometimes you have organizations that focus too niche of a veteran, right? That doesn't help the greater community. Here we have both support from the outside, non-military organizations. You have the veteran community itself that gets to network with each other, opens up opportunities to be able to grow what we talked about earlier, right? Especially if you're active duty, you're in the Virginia area. This is a no-brainer. Like if you're not doing it, something wrong with you, see the doctor. Right? You should be doing something with it. At least attending and meeting people, because again, your network is how it grows you, and then also being able to support military through purchasing products from them that are made here in the U.S. Not all of them, I'm sure, but a lot of the people are, they're working their butts off to make things happen. So it's a good way to support the community.
I just want to thank you on our podcast, number one, for being a member of VGA, but number two, our outreach coordinator bought his house, and he wasn't even thinking about home ownership until he met you, and you were the first person that he went to in order. I don't even think he talked to a realtor before he talked to you.
Yeah, that's the way it should be, actually.
Right?
You gotta know your financial picture.
Yeah.
Listen, people want to sell you stuff all the time. And I'm always like, no, you got to figure out what you want first in life. Then you go and execute it, right?
So no, thank you. Thank you for that. Definitely.
Thank you
Yeah.
for the introduction and having me on the podcast.
Hey, David, where can people find you, get a hold of you for your services?
The best way really is to go to the YouTube channel. So VA Housing Education has all links in there to schedule a call with me. They can also go to vahousingeducation.com. Same thing. They can schedule a call with me on there. That'd probably be the easiest way, just to use the Calendly link and schedule an appointment. And we also do presentations for organizations and military units. So a lot of times, if a organization has a veteran affinity group, which a lot of major companies do, we're always happy to come out and do a presentation during that time.
That's amazing. Hey, Don, how can people continue to support Veterans Growing America?
All right, I need y'all to support in every way that you can. Number one, go to our website and become a member of our organization. If you have a business, we do have a business directory now. So list your business in our business directory if you're a member of our organization. If you're in the DMV, that stands for DC, Maryland, and Virginia, I need you to come to our store in Woodbridge, Virginia. And then our second location that we're opening up, which is going to be in Clarksburg Premium Outlet, and shop, baby, at our store. And then last but not least, right, we have a networking event that we do the third Thursday of every month. It's called Veterans Connect, and we connect our community with business, education, and employment resources, but most importantly, each other. Like David said, you need a network, and that network needs to start now. And if you don't know what your network looks like, come to us and we'll help you build your network with some great people that can help you move and grow like no other. So follow us at veteransgrowingamerica.com on all social media platforms. You can find us at Veterans Growing America. And we're a great community to grow and thrive with.
I love it. I love it.
Let's grow.
Let's grow. Let's grow.
And we are over and out.